All right. First things up, we're gonna wash this motor on the outside, get as much of that grease off as possible. It's been sitting underneath the tarp. Look, it's even got dead bugs. So I was told a bunch of times that we need to get easy off oven cleaner, and we're gonna spray the whole bottom of the motor and let it freaking eat it up and get all that done, right? Is that what we're gonna do?
Yes.
All right, so let's get this done. We're gonna be careful of all the orifices and stuff like that. We're still gonna rinse it one more time, but we're gonna be careful about some of these parts. So we might wanna go ahead and tape up some of the end openings, and then we'll go ahead and spray it down. All right, first thing I did was I took off the clutch and the flywheel. That's over here. Kept all the bolts where they go. I marked the hole that it goes so that I can match it up when I put it all back together to make sure that I don't get it off balance. There's that cover that screwed us up on pulling it out in the first place is right here. I went ahead and pulled that off. That is right there. Was right there. That's off of there. And then, you know, I still have this piece down here, but I'm not going to pull that off until I get the rest of this. Now I'm going to mount it to the engine stand, but we take the piece off the engine stand and bring it out here and bolt it up. I bought some extra long bolts so that I can mount it up to the motor. So that's next. All right, I got it on the engine stand, and I went ahead, and what I did was I pulled out the distributor and just undid that bolt, and it slides right out. And I undid all those because you can look it up online as to what the firing order is, so you don't really have to worry about that. I went ahead and pulled the valve cover off. Once I pulled the valve cover off, I go ahead and screw the valve cover bolts back in just a little bit so you don't lose them. And then I left the valve cover over here. That easy off really worked really good. I'll probably end up cleaning this up. I may or may not paint it. I don't know. I just really want to get this together. I also pulled the fuel pump off. So this is all just kind of hanging out over here in a parts pile so far. Pulled the exhaust off. I'm getting ready to pull the intake off. All that is another series of 6 bolts, and that'll pop right off the side, and then the motor's almost pretty much stripped. The rebuild will come after that. So that's what we're doing right now. Yeah, I've had a few of these, so I forgot to show you taking all of that off. And so, yeah, now it's like that. So all I got left is the oil pan. And, yeah, so there we go. Take off all that. Take off your head and your water pump, and just throw all the parts on a table like that. I mean, fuck it. There it is. Cheers. All right, so I spun it over, and I got the oil pan off, and the oil pickup and all that. There's no gaskets. Whoever put this together, they use RTV sealer, and that was it. There's no gaskets anywhere on the bottom of this. I'm surprised it wasn't leaking more. But what I did notice is the top of the pistons have been cleaned, and so I think they did a head gasket, but they didn't re-ring it. Everything looks clean though. This motor, it's just, you know, it looks really good. I'm really surprised. There was not a tick in here, so I'm not gonna redo the rod and main bearings. I'm not gonna do them. But what I am gonna do is I'm going to take these off. I'm gonna pull the pistons, and I'm gonna re-ring it, because the one thing I'm noticing is, look at here, look at that. See how easy that is to turn? It should not be that easy if you have good rings. I mean, this motor, there's virtually no resistance on spinning. And I've done one motor before, and after I put the new rings in it, it was hard to turn it. There was at least some resistance. There's virtually no resistance. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and then we can start putting this pile of parts back on it. Alright, I had to clean out my oil pan. I still got to wire brush the outside edge of this to get all the old silicone off. I pulled the rear main seal off and replaced the seal on that. I went ahead and did the main bearings. I didn't do the main bearings. I did the rod bearings because they were, let's see if we can find them. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that in the video, but they're really chewed. There's actually pieces missing in there. I'm gonna show everybody on live. See there? It's supposed to be just a regular hole in there, but there's excess metal pulled out of that. And what they're supposed to look like, here, this is the other side. This was not chewed up, it's just a regular hole. That's how they're supposed to look. So I went ahead and replaced those. And I got the sump back on. I went ahead and redid the oil pump in the front. And there I had to put a little bit of RTV in there. I'm putting a little bit of RTV on this one. And I got to get the oil pan cleaned up, and I'll be able to put the oil pan back on right now. Once I get the oil pan back on, I'll be able to flip the motor around and start putting all the top end stuff back on, like the head and the water pump and the new timing belt setup that I got, and then start attaching everything else. But I want to get this bottom part done first. All right, we are getting there. Already put the head on, put the head gasket on, make sure everything's clean. And when you set the head on there, then you can look up online, look up Mazda b2200 2.0 or 2.2 torque specs, and you can find several websites that'll have all the torque specs of everything you need to be able to get this done. Once you torque that on, then you can I already showed you, I already got the oil pump on there, and then I put the water pump on. All the torque specs are on there as well. And then the cam sprocket. You're gonna have a pin that sticks out from the cam. Your number one, it'll actually say it on the cam sprocket. It'll have a number one. That is where that goes. Okay, your number one tooth is right here, right above it. Okay, that number one tooth matches up with this arrow at the top. Okay, so number one, that's all number one, dead. Okay, on the bottom, when you put your bottom pulley on the back side, I'm gonna try to get in here so you guys can see. There we go. You see that notch? Yeah, right there, there's a notch. There's a notch in the top of the pulley, right there. And then there's a line right on your water pump or oil pump. There's a line. Match those two up, and that's your top dead center, number one. So set that to there, and this one up here, you can't go wrong. Get the teeth set in here. Hold it tight. Okay. What you're gonna do is you're gonna pull it from this side. You're gonna make sure those teeth are right. You're gonna pull it tight, and you're gonna pull it up over this and make sure that's tight. Now everything is number one. The rest of this is slack. So set this up and then tighten this up right here. Just push that over and tighten it up for your for your belt tension. And when you start it up, that'll all be at number one. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that when you stick your distributor in, the distributor is going to have to be at number one as well. So as long as everything's at number one, or close to number one, you'll be able to adjust your distributor cap. But now the entire motor is in sync. It's really hard to get these motors wrong, and I can thank Airbag Joe. Airbag Joe is the one who taught me all of this, and every time I've ever set the timing on one of these, it's perfect. You cannot go wrong. Honestly, it's that easy. So with that being said, this is done. That part's done. I've got some other gaskets. I'm going to go ahead and replace these gaskets in here and put the valve cover on. I got to put the side intake on, and I'm going to go ahead and put my new header on. And I've got this gasket right here. That's to go around for the heater. And I mean, this is almost back together. I mean, I've got one problem back here. Oh God, Jesus. It's where the transmission cups into the engine, the pilot bearing. The pilot bearing's bad. So I'm going to need a new pilot bearing, which I'm going to have to order a new pilot bearing. either from the auto parts store or from somewhere online. So I got to get one of those and get that done. So let me see what else I can get together on this, and then that'll end up finishing up the video. I want to get the top on there and all that kind of stuff. All right, yeah, I got the top done, and then like this whole thing on my top of my head, and I've got more to show you guys on the next video. Went four-wheeling right after I got done with as much as I could on that motor. So yeah, stay tuned. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and thumbs up for almost getting the motor done, and comment and all that kind of stuff. So all right, see you guys on the next video. It's a doozy.